What's up everybody, it's Joe here with Joseph Blake Photography, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the R6 Mark III, and Canon has a secret skunkworks global shutter project. So I'm Joe, this is my channel, Joseph Blake Photography. I am a portrait and landscape photographer here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I also shoot in Southern California. And on this channel, we talk about tech and news and gear and tips and tricks and all the things that we use as creators to create content, whether it's here on social media, on YouTube, elsewhere if you're delivering to clients, or whatever else it is that you're doing to make super cool stuff. We talk about that here. If you're into it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if at the end of the video you think that this has been informative, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. Links down below to all my other social media profiles as well as the gear that I use. Enough about me, let's jump into talking about this camera and potential new sensor. So the first bit of info that we have coming out of Canon is the rumor that the R6 Mark III is not only coming, but it is definitely coming in the first quarter of 2025. Now, CP Plus is gonna be late February this year, and so it wouldn't be a shock to see this camera there, although we said the same thing about the R5 Mark II and the R1, and well, it didn't come. So I don't know for sure that we're gonna actually be seeing it at CP Plus. We might just get a press release and then see it demonstrated later on. But we know that it's coming between January and March of 2025. Now, the R6 Mark II has been just super popular. I have one. I film all of my videos on it. I love this camera. It is phenomenal to use. The image quality is fantastic and the features for the price are unbeatable. If you're in the Canon ecosystem, don't at me, Sony bros. But the sense that we're getting out of Canon is that this particular segment, right, the R6, the 6D, this particular, $2,500-ish entry level prosumer full frame camera is on a 2-year cadence cycle, which means it's been 2 years. So we really do think that we should expect an R6 Mark III. Now the current R6 Mark II has a 24 megapixel sensor, and we're expecting the same out of the R6 Mark III, but unlike Sony, we will not be seeing the same sensor twice. We do believe that we'll be seeing the super fast readout sensor out of the R3, which means that we'll probably still get the same 30 frame per second rate, maybe bumped up to 40 in the R6 Mark III, but that you'll get the reduction in all the rolling shutter and significant improvement in dynamic range and just overall noise quality that we've seen out of the improved sensor that we have in the R3. Still not sure if we're going to be seeing the IAF feature, but the other rumor that we had seen is that we would potentially be seeing a CF Express slot, which personally I am all for. Give me 2 of them. Give me 3 of them. CF Express is cheaper at higher size cards than SD right now. Not to mention the fact that the speeds at which I can get photos off my camera and video off my camera when I'm shooting with CF Express on my R5 just makes it so much better. Even if you have the fastest reader in the world, you're not going to be able to compete with CF Express. So my hope is that they add CF Express as at least one of the card slots on the R6 Mark III, especially if this is going to be kind of an R3 little brother. I do think that we will see improvements in the autofocus features, gaining many of the machine learning algorithms that are available on the R5 II and the R1, though maybe not the Digic accelerator chip to kind of speed those things up. But while we're on the subject of potential wants and needs for your general photography crowd, a full-size HDMI port, please. I cannot tell you how many of those tiny little mini HDMI port cables that I use for my off-camera monitor that I have broken because they're so tiny. Other than that though, I really don't think that you would need to change a lot. One other rumor that we saw was that they would potentially be switching from the 4K Max to actually give us a 6K 24 or 6K 30 frame rate along with the 4K 60 that is the downscaled 6K. Honestly, I don't think that the R6 Mark II needs a lot of update or a lot of improvement, and if they did too much, then it might justify a higher price. And what I don't want to see is a, $2,900, $3,100, $3,200 version. I'd really like them to keep it at the $2,500 to $2,700 range if they do those things that we're talking about, right? They add that CF Express B slot, they give us full HDMI, improve the autofocus system, give us 6K video, maybe raw 4K in camera once it gets that CF Express slot. The R6 Mark II can shoot 6K RAW externally, but the SD card, I think, that's the choke point, right, for being able to add in that feature. So if they do that CF Express port, then we'll be able to see RAW video at least 4K. I'd dig 6K too, but 4K would be fine. And maybe, just maybe, we get Canon Log 2. What do you think? What do you think, Canon? Log 2 on the R6? Improved IBIS as well to match the R5 II and the R1, giving us 8.5 stops when coupled with a compatible RF full frame L lens. But speaking of lenses, if you were to pair this R6 Mark II, this 24 megapixel, stacked sensor with maybe a 400 millimeter f4, I don't know, or maybe that 500 f5.6 or that 800 f6.3, all these kind of rumored lenses that we have in the pipeline. Let me know down in the comments if that would be a combo that you would be interested in. But speaking of sensors and things that we're interested in, Canon is a company that makes choices. Whether those choices are right or wrong, we can all agree and disagree, and sometimes those choices are specific for a type of product or a type of market that they want to hit, a la my R1 video where I talked about it being a flagship camera, just not for the market that a lot of us are looking for. But the R1 and the R5 Mark II came out, and while they have phenomenally fast stacked sensors, they are not global shutter sensors, meaning they still have a mechanical shutter. They cannot pull the entire sensor at one time, right? Sony put a global shutter on the A9 III, and it's been very popular, but global shutters come with trade-offs, and Canon decided that that wasn't worth it. They would just rather make stacked sensors that are as fast as they can make them. And Canon has said publicly that they feel that the quality that they get out of their sensors is better than what they can design out of a global shutter. But they also said that they've got it in the works because they can't say that they don't. And if they didn't, they'd be crazy because, of course, somewhere in the R&D lab, they've got something. And so Canon Rumors has a report out that someone who seems to be rather reputable indicated that there is a global shutter in the works. It's in the pipeline at Canon. It will come to a product, and it will be a product that, unlike the Sony A9 III, that is a very high price point camera that will sell fewer units just because of its price point and who it's directed towards, that Canon will be selling and potentially, or producing and selling, a camera that is a lot more available to people. And interestingly enough, the top candidate seems to be the R3. I don't know if I would qualify the R3 as a high volume camera that would put that sensor in the hands of lots of people, considering the fact that it was introduced really only about $1,000 less than the A9 III was introduced at, right? It's $5,200, $5,400. The A9 III is $6,500. I don't know that that necessarily makes it more accessible. I think an R6 would be definitely a version of an accessible camera to a lot of people. That sells a lot of units, as does an R8. They're obviously not going to do that, and we just got the R5 Mark II, so I don't think we're going to see another one of those for a couple of years. Not to mention the fact that I don't think the high-resolution version of a global shutter is the first sensor they want to come out with, because that's going to create a whole lot of other problems that they're going to have to deal with. That would be interesting, but as Canon Rumors points out, and I agree, that would kind of leapfrog the R1, to be quite honest. And so if we rack our brains, right, what we don't know is how big the sensor would be. So what if we're talking about a crop sensor? What if we're talking about an APS-C global shutter, a fast, medium megapixel sensor? And I'll be real honest, there's only one camera in Canon stable over the years where they have dumped really high-end technology, and you kind of scratch your head and you're like, but those are super high-end features, what are they doing? And that's the 7. I had a 7D that had dual processors in it. It was as fast as the 1D when it came out. The R7 now is a phenomenal camera. A global shutter R7, I think that makes sense. I think that's something that could make a lot of sense. And we're due for an update on most of Canon's APS-C line starting next year. So let me know down in the comments if you think that that's an interesting idea. I am going to be working on an end of the year recap of where I think Canon's going to be going in 2025 with the R6 Mark II and R3 Mark II, potentially this R7 Mark II. But the R and the RP that kind of got them into mirrorless And then we had the real cameras, right? The R5 and the R6 and the R3 and the R1 and the R7 and the R8 and that whole lineup. And now we're finally seeing with the R1, the second generation, the real second generation, right? The RP and the R don't really count. They were physically mirrorless, but we know that those sensors were borrowed from other cameras, as were the processors. I think we finally get to see the RF mount and mirrorless capability out of Canon in inexpensive, more accessible products really kind of hit their stride in this next year. And I'm really kind of curious to see what they're going to do with it. And this news kind of tells me that that's the direction that they're going. They're going to go a little more crazy and give us some cool stuff. If that's the kind of thing you're into, I'm going to be talking about it. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If this video was informative for you, go ahead and hit the like button. My social links are all down below. Please check out my Instagram giveaway. I'm giving away a bunch of gear. I've got a huge gear vault full of crap that people have sent me to, well, it's not crap. It's good, they're good products. I just don't need them. They send them to me, I review them. They come from China, it's really expensive to send them back. I wanna give them to you. So I've got links to a short that I did telling you how to get that stuff. Just go over to my Instagram, follow me there, like all my videos, come back here, put in a comment, and you'll be entered to win into a drawing where I'll call you and I'll say, hey, let's go shopping. And you can shop in my gear vault. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers on Instagram, and that's how I'm gonna do it. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.